You're watching the Batter Fans Network.
Chris, the Batter fans are back. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 37 of the Battered MLS Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, I got Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
I'm ready to talk some MLS, baby. I've gotten my fix for the weekend. Have you?
Well, look, staggered start times have been a thing of beauty. But before we get into the games, I did want to touch one quick thing. Front of the show, Will from MLS Moves tweeted something that I thought was kind of interesting, and I figured we touch on this before we start talking about the games. He said that the MLS should look into flexing Sunday night games. Now, the reason he said this was because Inter Miami was playing against Houston on Sunday night, and obviously the biggest draw there is Messi. We found out the day before Messi wasn't going to play, so he said they should have called an audible and flexed. Now, a couple things before I ask for you. Tell me what you think. First, they can't flex from one day to the next.
No.
Just logistically, it's a nightmare. Telling fans like, hey, forget it tomorrow, even if you're flying into the game or anything else. And yes, Esteban, this is live. It just wouldn't work. So you need more of a head start, right? You cannot do that from one day to the next. And second, Sunday Night Soccer just started. This is week number 2. This is the second game ever. Way too early to be talking about flexing schedules. Even the NFL waits until like week 8 before they start flexing. So although I get what Will was saying, I don't agree. At least not this early in the season. I don't know what you think, Chris.
I think flexing is awful. And I think that, later in this, I think later in the season, quite possibly, I guess, if you're speaking of injuries and things like that. But for the most part, look, Inter Miami is still Inter Miami. They still have 3 of the 4 Barca boys to represent Sunday night soccer. So, like, the idea of doing this flex thing just because Messi isn't there, I get it. Messi is Messi, right? But at the same time, like, you got to pay respect to other teams too. Like, I don't get it.
Well, I will tell you that the other reason I'm a fan of having just other teams play and not necessarily always the stars, which I understand, right? You want the ratings and the big teams, the big names. But I kind of like seeing the random ass Vancouver Whitecaps on Sunday at 5:00. I got to see them 2 weeks in a row. And I'm like, man, like
Jaden Nelson, team.
Jaden Nelson is a monster. Like you hear about these West Coast teams, and this is probably a lot more for us Eastern Conference, Eastern fans in the Eastern time zone. Like, yes, I don't know Vancouver and Portland and Seattle, maybe a little more, but Seattle, Portland, San Jose. Like, I don't get to watch these teams often. So seeing them, and I understand that they were in Sunday Night Soccer, but they were standalone. I like having these teams that you don't really watch that often in these standalone slots because I get to know them just a little bit better. So I'm okay not flexing for a while, maybe towards the end of the season, but right now I'm good.
But you're not the only one. Look, Mitch is here saying it. There's many saying the point of it's in its early stages is shining light on every team eventually. Why flex it? Listen, it's like you mentioned. I've been able to see Vancouver stand alone for 2 weeks straight. And Vancouver is a good team. And I've said it even from last year. I thought that they were a pretty good team. And watching them, actually having the opportunity to just sit down, say, you know what, 4:00 game, Vancouver, I'm down. It was 5:00. Yes, 5:00. I'm down for it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm liking it. I do understand the whole flex thing, right? Because if they have in the schedule for late, I don't know, August or September, and they have, I don't know, New England Revolution against the St. Louis City. Like, all right, maybe by mid to late September, maybe that's not the game I'm wanting to watch. Maybe I want to watch somebody that's in like a playoff race or a Supporter Shield game. I get it, but like right now, week 2, no, way too early. But I get the thought process. What were your overall thoughts on week 2? Week 1 had 46 goals. Week 2, 44 goals. So people are scoring. What were your overall thoughts on match day 2 before we get into the games in specific?
Listen, people want points. People want goals. There's one thing that I, even as a person that wasn't into soccer a couple years ago, complained about, and I've spoken to you about this. there's just not enough goals, not enough action, right? Because like from my point of view, not loving this sport at the time, I was like, I'm not gonna waste my time to go see a 1-0 match. And like people are in love with that stuff. But then now MLS is giving you goals. So I think this is the perfect way to catch the casual fan. I mean, listen, Danny, my first game with you was a 5-1 game. That captured me immediately. So right now, MLS putting up some points on the board. This is good stuff.
Now, there are some teams, and we're going to get into the games in a second, but there are some teams that have looked pretty weak on the attack, right? You got St. Louis, New England, and Nashville, which haven't scored this year yet.
No.
You got I saw somebody that just had one goal. Sporting KC, just one goal. The Galaxy, just one goal. Minnesota and Austin, just one goal apiece. So it's been tough sledding for a couple teams. But Philadelphia, 8 goals, and we're going to get into them in a second. But it's been interesting. But there are goals, not everybody, but there are goals going around. But yeah, I feel like there's a little more, and maybe it's because I'm paying more attention now that we're doing the MLS show, but I feel like there's more juice week 2 than there usually is. I feel like it's kind of like in baseball, right? Opening day, everybody's watching. Opening weekend, everybody's watching. And then it kind of just dies out a little bit. I felt like week 2 was as hyped as week 1. So
I'll tell you this much. Look, am I scared of Philly? Absolutely. If I wasn't a Miami fan, I would have been a Philly fan. I love that Dupe song. I'm going to go watch a game in Philly, and I'm going to celebrate for both.
All right. So let's get into the games. Let me bring this up. All right. So we could start with the same way we did last week. Last week we started with Sunday Night Soccer. So I guess we could start there. Sunday Night Soccer, Houston, Miami. Messi didn't play, but as a lot of people have been saying over the last couple of days, no Messi, no problem. Messi came out, and Inter Miami came out, and they basically dominated Houston. Now, Houston, after losing Hector Herrera and Coco in the midfield, they're going to have some tough sledding. I know they added Jack McCling, but they're going to have some tough sledding because that midfield was non-existent in this game. It looked like Miami was just having their way in the midfield, just connecting their back line to their forwards with ease. Luis Suarez, initially 3 assists, then they changed it to 2 assists and a goal, and then the youngsters ball. And what did you think about the Houston-Miami game?
Well, in terms of Inter Miami side, right? Like, if we're looking at Inter Miami, we saw that, like you said, no Messi, no problem. You had Luis Suarez, which is our striker who is aged and has no legs, get 3 assists or 2 registered and a goal, right? And you had an output by new guys that just signed with the team like 10 minutes ago. It was phenomenal from an Inter Miami perspective. But like Mike V says, Houston, we have a problem, and we absolutely do. They're missing pieces or players that are no longer there, made a colossal difference in the midfield. And I don't know how Houston's going to replicate that, but Jack McClin can't do everything.
No, and like I said, defensively they looked really bad. And Miami, for those of you that thought that Miami might not be as strong as last year, because for some reason I've heard people say that, Miami looks stronger as far as, like, it's still early in the season, so it's hard to say, right? They won the Supporters' Shield last year. This year the season just started. But just looking at the roster, they are deep at every position because Messi didn't play. They had Telasco Segovia, 21-year-old Venezuelan, come and fill in that 10 role. And he looked amazing. He won man of the match, even though I think it should have been Luis Suarez, but he won man of the match. And he is the Diego Gomez replacement.
Yes.
But he doesn't give you as much defensively as Diego Gomez, but he gives you much more in the attack. And Miami is looking like a problem with or without Messi. And if Messi's healthy and playing, even worse. So Miami's looking good. Houston is not. We'll have to wait and see how that looks. But Miami's looking like a problem.
Yeah, and on top of that, we just got a tie against NYCFC, and then we beat Houston. We got a couple big opponents that are coming our way early in this month, so we're gonna have to see how things pan out.
And remember, they got that draw with NYCFC with 10 men. So
yes,
They're looking good. All right, now moving on. Charlotte, Atlanta. Now, this game was the one that I was most excited to watch all week because I
Yes.
predicted that if Miami didn't win the East, Charlotte would be the top team in the East because
Yeah.
I'm that high on Charlotte. Best defense in the league last year. I know Seattle technically was slightly better, but I thought Charlotte had the best defense with the best keeper. And then Atlanta, with their new attack, I was kind of curious to see how this played out. Chris, what did you think about this game that Charlotte won 2-0?
It's scary because Atlanta is a team that you're expecting to also match up well against Charlotte, at least from an aesthetic perspective, from the beginning of the season because of the acquisitions that they just made with Amiron and with Latelat. I mean, I thought this was going to be a slobber knocker, but Charlotte said, let us put our big boy pants on, show that we're just not good off defensively, but that we could do some things and string some things together offensively. I mean, you had a contribution by Zaha. That was key. I mean, Ajmayang is a beast. He is just a unit.
Yeah. Just looking at him,
unit.
He's huge. He looks like Giant Gonzalez running out there. Yeah.
Yes.
If he puts it together with Zaha, they're going to be a problem because, like I said, last year their defense was great. What they were missing is the attack.
But what I want to do, and I want to mention this, Mr. Krabs is saying Latte Lock got his 15 minutes of fame. Let's not go there just yet, Mr. Krabs. This guy looks like a man-child. He is going to tear up the Eastern Conference.
Look, Atlanta, they're still getting their bearings. Like, even though they looked really good week one against Montreal, which Montreal isn't great,
yes,
you have to understand that, I mean, they're playing against what could still be the best defense in the league. And they're just getting accustomed to playing with each other. I think Latelat only played maybe a half in the preseason. So you got to give him some time to gel. So I don't want to discount them completely. And Almiron, to start the game, he had a cross where it could have hit, I think it was Saba that was waiting on the left side to tap it in. But Kalina, the best keeper in the league, just put a hand on it or a foot on it, and he stopped it.
And deflected it, yep.
And Atlanta had a lot of opportunities to start that game. It's just Charlotte is good defensively, and Atlanta still has to get their bearings together. I wouldn't discount Atlanta completely.
No way.
But Charlotte put everybody on notice with this one, I think.
Listen, 58% they had in possession, okay? They had 15 shots. 3 of them were on target. Atlanta's going to find it. And when they find it, it's going to be problematic in the East.
Atlanta's also missing their 2 fullbacks. They were starting 2 backup fullbacks. Edwards played a horrible ball. He tried to head it, and I think that might have been what led to the second goal. I can't remember exactly, but Edwards didn't have a good game down as the left back, and just in general over 2 weeks. I mean, Montreal put 3 up on him. Charlotte put 2 on. I don't think Atlanta's looking great defensively, but again, early in the season, can't overreact. But I think that Atlanta's defense won't be that great. But their offense, I think, will pick up. Now, one thing I did want to say about Zaha, everybody was like, oh, my God, a golden assist. That assist, I really, like, even when they scored, I think it was Pep Biel that scored that goal, like, Zaha knew that he didn't get that assist. Like, he was like,
yeah.
Because the defender kind of poked it away from him, and it went straight to Pep Biel's left foot, and then I think he finished it with his right. But Zaha, he got the goal and the assist anyway, so credits for that. But that assist was, it wasn't.
You gotta give him his props though. Like, he's creating, he's doing something that this team Charlotte hasn't had in a long time.
No, well, he definitely created that opportunity. He took that ball from the left side of the box and he was progressing to the right when he got it poked away from him. So yeah, I guess technically, but
yeah,
everybody's, oh my God, an assist and a goal. Okay, I guess. All right. Salt Lake and Seattle. Salt Lake surprised the hell out of me. Seattle is my Charlotte of the West. I thought that Seattle might end up with first place finish, but as it often happens in the MLS, when you're playing the Champions Cup, you end up rotating your roster for some of these regular season games. Jesus Ferreira and Paul Arriola didn't start, and Salt Lake somehow, I mean, everybody thought that Salt Lake was going to be horrible. They're out of the Champions Cup, and they went and they beat Seattle 2-0. What did you think of this game?
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that there was an own goal in the beginning of the game, right?
That changed the game immediately.
Yeah, that once you do that, like you have the advantage just outright at that point. And then from there, you have a series of yellow cards, and then Forster Ajago ends up getting a goal late in the game that basically just iced it. I mean, I was just trying to figure out why they didn't have Morris up at the striker position like they did in the first game. They had him out at the wing again. He was sort of kind of like alternating between winger, but then striker, and then he was out on the side. I just didn't understand what it is that they were trying to do there. They ended up having Morris set as the striker, but I saw him more out the wing than I did up ahead.
And Jesus Ferreira only played 20 some odd minutes in that game, and he didn't do much in those 20 minutes. Now the Seattle, it sucks for Seattle because Seattle, they drew their first game against Charlotte that we just talked about, but they should have won because it was an own goal in like the 90-something minute.
Yeah.
So they should have had 3 points. They ended up with 1. And in this game, you feel like RSL, the way they've looked to start the season, Seattle should win this game. And I believe Seattle hasn't won in Salt Lake in like 15 years. Like it's some ridiculous amount of years that they haven't won.
Tough sledding.
But Seattle allowed, and they scored first, but they called it offside. And then right after, they allowed an own goal, and then the game just completely changes because Seattle's pressing, Seattle and Real Salt Lake's beating them with the long ball. And eventually that last goal was, I believe they played the ball long and beat them over the top.
Yeah, man, it's tough sledding, especially against that kind of opponent. I mean, I don't anticipate Seattle being, a losing team here. I mean, they're going to pick things up and they're going to figure it out. But it's tough to see that they go up against Real Salt Lake, who's taken a couple hits in terms of their roster movement.
And Bailey saying hopefully they do that in Providence Park against Portland, which for anybody that's not familiar with the West Coast, Portland, Seattle, you got to watch some of those games. The Cascadia Cup with Vancouver mixed in there. It's always fun watching those three teams go at it.
Absolutely.
All right. So, and by the way, RSL, they won that game wearing the best kits in the league this year.
Oh, my goodness. Awful kits. Awful kit.
No, and for anybody that forgot what that kit was, best kit in the MLS this year. It's beautiful.
My son saw this.
I've considered buying it. That's how much I like it.
You're a mess. You're a mess. My son watched the game with me this weekend, and he said, Poppy, that looks like a chessboard. You're going to buy a chessboard on a shirt. That's what you're going to do. You're going to waste that money. It's over $100 and something. No, you have $100+ to throw this.
Look, I it's very hard for me to come to terms to buying a random MLS kit, but I don't know. I've considered buying a bootleg version because I think it's nice. That's my favorite kit this year.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think
now,
about that.
Moving to Chris's favorite team, the New England Revolution. They played against Columbus. Columbus, everybody seems to be really high on because they scored 4 to start the season, even though one was an own goal, one was a giveaway by Chicago's keeper. So, I thought it was a little bit overrated that first game around. But second game, they go ahead and they handle business against New England. What did you think about the game between New England and Columbus?
Oh my goodness! So Russell Rowe gets his goal, and Columbus is like just a pig and shit, basically, because Russell Rowe is finally he gets a goal, and we don't need what's this guy Cucho
nobody's
anymore.
Saying that. Nobody's saying that.
All I'm saying is that Campana, number one, he made a couple plays happen. Okay, he tried to go off his right foot towards the goal at some point. I know you saw he was cooking a little bit.
He wasn't cooking, but I did see off of a set piece. I forgot who delivered the ball. It might have been Carlos Hill or Langoni.
One of them was delivered on point.
Well, there was a beautiful through ball to Campana also that I thought that he might get to the back post, but Schulte got a hand on it, and in pure Campana fashion, he ended up with no goals. So Campana cannot be the difference. Farsi found Russell Rowe down that left side, and Farsi had a good game. I felt like he was creating chances all over the place. And Columbus
Farsi's
got that
phenomenal.
Yeah. He's the reason that Julian Gressel got let go, because Julian Gressel was playing right back for Columbus that season that they won the cup, and Farsi came, took over that spot. Gressel basically didn't play the playoffs, I believe, and Farsi never gave up the spot back, and Gressel ended up going somewhere else.
Well, the one thing I also noticed is New England's defense a week later is still garbage. Is still absolute garbage. So
and that begs the question. I think Chicago's defense isn't great. Columbus scored 4 goals, but 2 of them, again, one was an own goal, one was a horrible giveaway in the back that was basically a tap-in for Columbus. So they scored 2 goals in open play, and then they scored 1 goal against New England. Now, I think they had more chances than just 1 goal. I'd have to look it up to see how many shots they actually had, and I'll tell you in a second.
Well, go ahead and do that.
9 shots. They had 9 shots.
Mike B saying here, New England blows. Careless Hill is a ghost. He's washed. Campana's got 1 good ball all game. They're a disaster. They are pretty disastrous. I think that offensively they're going to pick it up, but defensively there needs to be something done because their defense is god awful.
No, they were horrible last year, and it doesn't look like it's going to get much better. And Columbus, New England almost got a penalty. It was like the 88th, 89th minute, something like that. And I thought to myself, Campana has a chance to get his first goal. Do you think he takes it or Carlos Gil takes that?
I think he takes it.
You think so?
He's going to take it because I think Carlos Hill would do the what is it, the messy deal Joseph? With Joseph. Yes, where he knows that Leo Campana is the new guy that just came in. He's the striker. He's got to give it to him. Carlos Hill's not going to take it. That's Campana all day.
Okay. Well, they ended up going back on VAR, reversing it, and that saved Columbus's 1-0 win because it could have ended in a draw. So that would have been interesting, though, because Campana getting his first goal, ending in a draw, maybe would have given him some life. But Columbus gets away with that, and they win 1-0. So Nancy is looking good so far because, I mean, as much as we like to poo-poo on Columbus, he has them 2-0, even though the opponents weren't great. But a lot of people have expected Columbus to fall off, and they won their first 2 games. No matter how it happened, they won those games.
No, I mean, I know that they're going to do decent, right? I think that they're going to do good, but let me tell you something.
But they had a good squad. From top to bottom, they had a good squad. And who did they lost? Cucho, obviously a huge loss, right? Runner-up in the MVP, and Christian Ramirez.
Yeah.
But I understand that those are 2 big contributors, but, like, the rest of the team basically stayed pat.
Yeah.
Like, so they didn't change much. They should still be a solid squad.
Yeah, I imagine so.
All right. Let me move on here. Next, we got San Diego and St. Louis. Now, 0-0. Obviously, it's not what you're looking to watch. I think there's 2 big stories out of this game. One, San Diego basically dominated. St. Louis, for the second week in a row, does not look very good. But San Diego dominated this game. They had a bunch of chances. They couldn't convert. But Chucky Lozano went down with an injury. I think like 28th, 29th minute, I want to say. Hamstring injury. I don't know how long he's going to be out. And Andre Dreyer is basically that team. He is the one that creates chances. He creates chances. And in this game, they had 15 shots. 15 shots, San Diego to 2 for St. Louis. St. Louis had 2 shots the entire game.
2 on target, and 2 shots on goal. So, and also, I mean,
the craziest part is that San Diego had 15 shots, but St. Louis still had 1 more shot on target than San Diego. San Diego only had 1 shot on target.
Yeah, but they held crazy possession though. 72% San Diego.
No, and they were on them. I thought that they would eventually score. Yeah. They just couldn't figure out how to get through at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand it, but you could tell that they pushed the pace. I mean, San Diego ended up the game with 9 corners.
But St. Louis plays that
0.
St. Louis plays that old Nashville bunker down, and it's hard to score on that. Yeah, it's hard to score on them.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. And Bailey, go ahead. No, but Bailey's saying here, I feel like that hamstring injury could kill their momentum. Absolutely.
Well, an expansion team, and they haven't lost yet, right? They won that first game, but I think that they ended up pretty nice with their opponents because the first game was against Galaxy. I know they're defending champions, but obviously hampered by injuries. And then you got St. Louis, which is just they're not doing much. I don't know. I would love to. We're gonna have to get a St. Louis representative on here to tell us what's going on with St. Louis because I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, I mean, my name is Jeff. Says, are you saying chance or chance? And I like the double. I like the double entendre there. My name is Jeff because of the chance that San Diego fans were saying, and almost got the entire game shut down for.
Well, I don't want to get too far into that, but I did have a question, and
I think what you're going to ask is the same. Yes, yeah. I think I'm going to have the same question because regionally, I think the word breaks down a little differently.
Yeah, pardon my ignorance. Me and my family are from South America, and that word that they used in the chant isn't homophobic in Colombia. Now, I don't know if in other places it is.
In the Caribbean, it's not.
It is an insult. It is a bad word.
Yes,
right.
It is.
You do say that, in a mean way, I suppose, but it isn't homophobic. So when I first heard it, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's a homophobic chant," I was really confused. So maybe somebody else can enlighten me, but I did not think. And here in Miami, we have a very colorful chant also to the referees whenever they mess up, which is basically "son of a bitch" in Spanish, hijo de puta, and they start chanting that. But that's also not homophobic. That's just "son of a bitch." But I didn't think that was because it's homophobic. I'm not going to say it on the show because other people take it as homophobic, but I wasn't aware that that's what they considered it.
Well, and like I said, also in the Caribbean, it's not homophobic either. But again, I think regionally, it's just a difference. I think there's just a big difference regionally. So
yeah, and my name is Jip said that's what I thought in Nicaragua. It isn't either. So yeah, that chant, and I've heard people like
it's very weird in Central America. There's a lot of countries that don't say it in a homophobic manner.
But I don't even think the definition is homophobic to begin with. So, but I do know that there's a lot of non-Spanish speakers that cover the MLS.
Yes.
So all they hear is, "Oh, that's a homophobic phrase," and everybody's like, "Oh,"
and they run with it.
Disgusting. Yeah, it's disgusting. How could they do that in their inaugural game? And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And maybe because I speak Spanish, I don't get it. But again, if somewhere else it is homophobic, then I guess I guess I understand. But I would love to talk to somebody maybe of Mexican descent or whoever it is
possibly
that is homophobic because I didn't think it was.
Moving on.
All right. So yes, moving on. Yeah, look, we got caught in this quicksand, but I was curious because it did confuse me a little bit when I saw people up in arms with it. All right, Vancouver, LA Galaxy. We were talking about Vancouver a little earlier. The fact that we're loving watching Vancouver. Now they don't have the 5 o'clock game this week, but Vancouver's attack is looking pretty sexy, and the LA Galaxy, outside of Gabriel Peck, are looking pretty anemic. And their defense is looking pretty bad over the last 2 weeks. What did you think about the Vancouver LA Galaxy game?
I'm becoming a Vancouver fan every week, more and more so.
And I heard that going to that stadium and then just the area around the stadium.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful. We got to get the third sub in here to talk some Whitecaps in the next couple of weeks because I've heard that is a beautiful place to go.
There was a player, Laborda, or I don't know if it was Vite, but one of the two, I think it was the right back, Laborda, ended up having a hell of a pass to start the game off with a through ball for an early goal for Vancouver. I mean, to me, Vancouver structurally was just so much better. I mean, Gabriel Peck ended up capitalizing off of I guess Vancouver not clearing the ball well. Kind of
it's just a loose ball that he got. Yeah,
but for the most part, like Vancouver, to me, they were on it. There was another amazing cross by Vancouver. All the forwards I noticed were just ready for that cross. Who's the defender? I had his name down. Yeah, for the Galaxy,
Alexis?
Jurgensen, this guy was caught sleeping, and the forwards that they were all ready to pounce on that cross. Just structurally, it just looks
I've
so
had
much
so
better.
much fun watching Jaden Nelson. Like him on the ball is just fun. The way he creates,
Yes,
I really hope that he becomes a household name. Because even though I knew the name, I never really got to watch him play. And over the last 2 weeks, this kid is
he's on it.
Yeah, Jaden Nelson is something. So yeah, they had a couple opportunities too. I remember there was one where there was a ball to Gald, and he connected with Nelson, and I think it didn't convert in a goal, but you could see how aggressive they are in the attack. And man, Vancouver is going to be a team with all the stuff going around them about they might sell the team, they might move. It doesn't matter. If anything, it's going to be a more even enticing team to buy. Could you imagine that team getting bought and moved over to Vegas or something like that?
That would be insane. And look, you could tell as far as from like a Galaxy perspective, I mean, the fact that they don't have Pencil and they don't have what's this case? What's this guy? And Pooch, like those are two huge losses. Like LA Galaxy need to start mustering up some like wins or ties, because it's not going to get easier later on in the season.
No.
So
it won't.
It's going to be real. And the worst part is like I said, they just came off of last season's success, and now they're going to have to essentially try to build on that success, missing on two of their biggest assets on the team. I mean, just in their schedule alone, LA Galaxy, they're going to be playing St. Louis, maybe they'll get a win out of there. They're going to play Portland and Minnesota, and then Orlando, and then RSL, other than the game that they have, planned for the CCC. So it's going to be tough sledding for them.
I'm trying to pull it up because somebody just said that Vancouver against Monterrey would be interesting. Now, is that the matchup?
Well, looking at this graph that you just ended up,
that's right. Because the Whitecaps,
here,
they won late. That was the last game of the first round. So Vancouver against Monterrey, that's going to be fun to watch. Sergio Ramos versus everybody.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's going to be a blast.
All right, where were we? All right, moving on to LAFC and NYCFC. LAFC gets out with the 1-0 victory. Their attack is basically down the left side. Denny Bouanga.
Bouanga's the guy.
Yeah, for as much crap as I give him for being a PK assassin.
He's so good.
But he's creating everything for them. There was a ball where Freeze, the NYCFC keeper, basically playing it out of the back, gave it away. Bouanga dishes it over to Giroud, and Giroud does absolutely nothing with it. Giroud might go down as one of the worst signings in the MLS history, probably, because he has looked really, really bad.
If I'm not mistaken, that same play, like Giroud freaking blew it. He blew the opportunity. Like that.
I thought that was going to be his first goal of the season.
I imagine that LAFC fans right now are like they're waiting with bated breath on Giroud to perform to his capacity, and it hasn't come yet. And the fact that they invested this time and money into this player, and to now have him really not shine. I mean, Bouanga, to me, that guy is light years ahead of Giroud at this point. Now, LA ends up LA later ends up getting a goal. It was off of a bad clearance over in like the last minutes, 84th, 85th minute or something like that.
Well, Bouanga played a ball into Giroud, and Giroud, I don't know if he was trying to do the dummy, but he let it go over to David Martinez. David Martinez, by the way, the Venezuelan young kid, looks not as good as Telasto Segovia, but he looks good. He's a young 19-year-old Venezuelan, and he looks good. But David Martinez, like he might have gotten fouled, and I thought they were going to call a penalty, but they let the play continue. The ball kind of just went loose, and one of the defenders for LAFC, I forgot who it was, Ending up on the other end of it and basically just hammering it home. And that was the difference. That was the 1-0 win. NYCFC didn't have many clear chances. I thought Alonso Martinez had one that went wide earlier in the game, but they didn't have too many opportunities.
No, they didn't. But it's just crazy to be able to see that. Bailey Wick is saying Gerard once scored the greatest scorpion in Premier League. And if you don't know who he was, you'd think he doesn't even know what a scorpion is right now. Listen, he blew. It's crazy. He blew a perfect opportunity right in front of goal. And then Soccer Daddy saying Hollinghead.
Yes, that was the defender that scored for LAFC, Hollinghead. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, he blew it. Like watching that, I said, wow, my goodness, you blew it right in front of the goal. Not a good look.
No, Drood is not looking good. And, you know, I had Eric on with us last week, and, you know, he's disappointed. And he says, for anybody that says that Drood is a bust, it's kind of hard to argue.
You can't argue it.
Yeah, you can't argue. Like, what are you going to say?
Yeah, you can't really argue it, especially, and look, with a player of that stature, like the expectations are super high. So it's understandable for people to be a little bit disappointed with his output. But I mean, come on, like at some point you got to turn this around. Even you know, out in Inter Miami, you had Higuain that turned it around at some point, you know.
Took him a while, but yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
And let's see. Let's move on to Portland, Austin. You know what? I don't really have too much to say about that. Brandon Vasquez. For everybody that said that he had that one season in Cincinnati and then he went to Mexico, disappointed, came back, and they're expecting him to disappoint again. He hasn't done much to disprove him. It's still early in the season, but he hasn't looked great. He did have one free kick that the keeper from Portland, I forgot his name, had to dive to his left and barely blocked. But
yes.
And David DaCosta, the DP for Portland, was the difference.
This hurts for me to say this because I do like Phil Neville as a coach, but this game, not just for Portland, but for Austin too, it felt identityless. To me, it felt like neither team had any sort of plan or identity or way of attack at all. Like if I'm a Portland fan or an Austin fan, I would be.
Well, I think Bailey might be a Portland fan, so I'm curious what Bailey has to say in the chat.
Well, and Bailey is actually saying, I swear, if they don't start James P. the rest of the year, oof.
Look, well, David DaCosta, DP, I mean, he made the difference. Now that goal was a free kick. And it looked really weird because it looked like a dangerous ball. It looked like it was going to land in a place where it would just be an easy header. And it kind of just floated and nobody touched it. And
nobody touched it.
Died. It just died inside the goal. Back post. But Phil Neville gets a victory. And David DaCosta makes his mark with his first goal with Portland. So, I mean, he is the Evander replacement. So I guess good start, I suppose. I don't think either team looked necessarily great. But, yeah.
Bailey Wick saying Moreno, Rodriguez, Mosquera, and Zuparich are all out 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, Portland has tough sledding. Yeah, I see. And thank you for joining us, Bailey, because that I didn't know.
Good luck, Phil Neville.
That's tough sledding. Do you think Phil Neville's going to be in the hot seat if they don't do that?
Dude, if you take a loss like Evander and then all those guys are out for 4 to 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks.
Isn't that what happened in Miami though? Like everybody was giving him excuses like, oh, he injuries. So he kind of just Bailey. We're gonna move on, Bailey. But if you could just tell us what you think of Phil Neville, we would love to hear what you think. And then for anybody watching, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. All right.
Yes, please.
Now, the highest scoring game of the weekend, Colorado-Dallas. Now, Colorado.
That was a slobber knocker.
It started 2-0. Dallas came back, tied it up, took the lead. Colorado had to come and tie it up at the end. What did you think about the Colorado-Dallas game?
Well, it's weird because Acosta, who's a new arrival in Dallas, didn't have as many touches in the game. What I did see was, I mean, they were just back and forth. I don't know if this is just good offenses or terrible defenses. For the most part, what I was able to see is uh, there was a beautiful cross right in the beginning by Rosenberry that he literally, I mean, it was amazing. And then another great header off of a cross by Colorado. It was a good game. Yeah, I love the back and forth. I mean, it's. I imagine it keeps fans that are watching unstable, absolutely. But it was an awesome game to watch.
Now,
And
obviously,
then
Colorado's one. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, speaking of Acosta, one of the things I wanted to mention was even though he didn't have as many touches, you could see that when he does get the ball, I mean, it's a wrap. I mean, his touches are big when it matters, and it was a beautiful given goal that he had that ended up helping out Dallas put up a point.
Mihailovic, I think, is kind of like that Jaden Nelson, where
Yeah,
people aren't too familiar with him. Mihailovic is another game changer. How he creates for his teammates. He had what I thought was going to be a goal, went just wide on a free kick. Mihailovic is a beast. And Lucho finally got on the board for Dallas. Peter Musa played a beautiful through ball to Lucho where he finished it. Yeah, like you said, it was probably the most entertaining game. Yeah, it was a give and go. It was Lucho to Musa, back to Lucho. And it was the most entertaining game because it was back and forth for sure.
And he had the goalie dead to rights on that give and go. Like once he received that ball, that goalie was dead in the dirt by the time that he was able to get the ball right in front. Forget about it. It was super entertaining to watch.
And Dallas almost won the game, but they called it offside, I believe, at the very end. They could have won 4-3, but they called it offside. So, but Dallas looked good. Colorado, I mean, I thought that they looked much better than they did week one. So,
oh, yes.
Now, another game, Minnesota, Montreal. Yeboah, I believe, is the player that scored that one goal for this game. I honestly didn't pay too much attention to, so I apologize. I didn't watch this game.
So it's weird because Montreal lost. I'm going to tell you right now, their defense looks super suspect. Every time when I was watching it, like barely no players come back to defend. You have the back four or the back five come defend, and like one or two other players. Nobody came back to defend. And the only score that Minnesota got was essentially on a power play, because Montreal had a substitution that was being made. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that the substitution that was being made at the time was Jaquil Marshall was coming out and Yuri Alexander was coming in. And I guess they took too long to come out. Jaquil took too long. And so they had to sit out for the 2 minutes. They played for 10. They played with 10 only. And within that span, they were able to get the goal on the power play. So it's not necessarily a great showing either by Minnesota, like that you had to score with 10 men instead of 11 on the field.
Well, and then the whole Montreal bit that you just said, that defensively they aren't looking great. And I don't want to go back to Atlanta too much, but
yeah,
everybody was giving props to Atlanta's attack because they beat up on Montreal. But
yeah,
I mean, if Montreal is looking like that on defense, we have to wait and see. But Minnesota did end up winning. Yeboah, I believe, scored the winning goal. And you know, Duluth. My understanding though is that they dominated the game because Montreal didn't look good or threatening at all.
No, they didn't. I mean, Minnesota had a pretty good grip on the game, other than a couple other opportunities by Minnesota. I mean, by Montreal, Minnesota had a really good grip on the game. They didn't own the possession, though. They only had 34% possession. But Montreal really wasn't doing much with their possession. They had 3 shots and 0 were on target. So you put that together with a defense that's looking shady as hell. Oof. It's a bad look.
Right. Now, San Jose KC. Chicho Arango finally gets on the board early. And San Jose has gotten off to the start that everybody was hoping. Well, San Jose fans, obviously, and people that felt bad for them because they've been so bad recently. But they've started off 2-0. Now, granted, they beat Kansas City, and they beat up on. Oh, I'm blanking on who they beat week 1. Who was it that they beat week 4? 4-0? Was it RSL? I believe it was RSL that they beat 4-0.
I don't want to guarantee that, but I guess if you're going to look that up, I want to tell you about the second goal. I thought that it was super cool.
RSL.
I want to tell you about the second goal. I thought it was amazing that when they were setting up the corner, I don't know if you saw this, but they literally crowded the box, crowded the area right in front of the goalkeeper. Literally, it looked like a hodge. It was a complete scramble, and the smallest guy, Joseph Martinez, ends up getting it into the back of the net. That was amazing. I thought that was really cool. I mean, Joveljic ends up getting a stupid penalty. The keeper for San Jose was talking mad garbage, hoping to be able to block it. He actually tipped it, dove to the left, tipped it, and was able to almost block it. But
I mean, they were already up 2-1 when it happened, but they ended up getting a red card.
Yeah.
So they got a red card. They played with 10 men, but everybody's like, oh my God, they won with 10 men. They're already winning 2-1. And Kansas City they're just a bad team. Kansas City is just really bad. So not that impressed. But we'll see. San Jose, they scored that first goal. Joseph Martinez was dribbling the ball. He basically got sandwiched between 2 defenders. The ball went loose, and Chicho finished it off. The second one, like you said, they played that set piece. It was a mad scramble. Joseph ended up putting it in the back of the net, and Kansas City got a PK. Nothing crazy. San Jose ended up 32% of the possession only. They got 7 shots to Kansas City's 15. But I want to believe that San Jose is for real, but I need to see it. I need to see it again against a good team.
I did say early in the season, San Jose is for real. I did call that.
A lot of people have said it, yeah. But I want to see them be somebody that is that's good. And San Jose is for real. And then Soccer Daddy red card game again. Yeah, they're dishing out these red cards early in the season. And then real quick, let's just backtrack to Portland in a second because Bailey finally chipped in. Phil is a mid coach. I like him as a person, which is what Inter Miami fans were saying also. He's a really nice person. But he refused to start a better keeper last year and battled Evander's issues with team contract. He's on the hot seat after the team is healthy.
Okay, after the team is healthy. I get that.
Fair. All right. Let's go on to Chicago, DC United. Now, DC United, I thought, should have won that first game that they played when they played Toronto. It was I thought it was a cheap PK, a soft PK that they gave Toronto, and I believe it was an own goal that Toronto scored. So DC should have ended up with 3 points. And then in this game, this was the wild finish. Now that it's coming back to me, it was a wild finish. Chris, what did you think about this game?
Well, Benteke, for as much as the crap that we talked about him last season, he's always just at the right place and the right time. Yeah, I don't think he's that great. But he is always at the right place at the right time. The fact that he's gonna,
that's a good striker,
and that is exactly the thing that you need to have a good striker. He is the reason for the season in terms of Washington DC here. Now he does blow a bread and butter penalty kick. He blows it, okay, and that's what he's sort of known for too, in terms of just headers and penalty kicks. Brady, I'm going to tell you right now, Brady, the goalkeeper for Chicago, he's the brand new Michael Jordan. To me, he is the new Michael Jordan. I'm sorry, but he is the new Michael Jordan in Chicago. Okay,
Chicago is a goalkeeping factory.
Yes, they need to take out that Jordan statue, and they need to put in a Brady statue right in front of Soldier Field.
But how's he doing? It's not this. It's going wide.
Yeah, it's going like it's diving wide.
It's not forward. It's diving wide. I like it. I like that idea. They should do it. Put it in front of Soldier Field.
Yeah.
Bamba for Chicago. Greg Berhalter. Everybody's dying for him to fail for some reason. People hate Greg Berhalter, but Bamba is looking good. He served up a couple chances to Kuipers. Kuipers scored twice. I think it were both set pieces. Were they both headers? I want to say that they were both headers.
Yes, they were both headers, I believe. Yeah.
So they had the 2-1 lead going late into the game. Then DC gets that PK. Benteke blows it, goes over the crossbar. And then I think in the dying moments, right? Like I think the whistle was about to blow at the end of whatever possession they had. They went ahead. They played the ball in. I think it got knocked out, and I forgot who it was. It hit a bicycle kick, and basically at the buzzer is what you could call it, since we're talking MJ at the buzzer, and that's how he salvaged that one goal. I mean, that 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, luckily it came out like that. And look, Chicago needs all the points they can get if they want to keep Berhalter, or if they want to give him some sort of shining light in regards to this season.
I talked to Nick from Glass House Soccer, the Chicago podcast. Everybody's okay in Chicago. Everybody's okay with the Triple G. Everybody's okay with him. He's brought them some hope. It's everybody else that are USMT fans that are wanting him to fail, because in Chicago they're okay with him. They don't mind him as of yet.
Well, this is a good question by Bailey. Are we all going to eat our words about Greg when Chicago has a way better year than the previous? I believe so.
I mean, last year was a pretty bad year, though. It's not saying much, is it?
It was.
I'll double check right now. Chicago last year ended up with 30 points. They were the second worst team in the league. They had 40 goals for, 62 goals against. They won 7 games. They lost 18. They drew 9. Triple G should be able to at least do that, right? At this point, he has 1 point, 1 loss, 1 draw.
Yeah.
You know who I thought looking pretty good is his son.
Yes.
Which I was surprised. It's cool to see his son doing well. I wonder if he gets hated on just because it's his son.
He probably does. That wouldn't surprise me.
All right. Orlando, Toronto. Orlando wins 4-2. And, after that poor start to the season for Orlando, they come back against Philly. They come back and they score 4 of their own, and they beat Toronto 4-2. Toronto doesn't look like a good team.
So can I do the full breakdown for this game,
Yes,
Danny?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, so I'll give everybody a quick synopsis, okay? Toronto, their defense is awful. Mm-hmm. Orlando dissected the middle. And I'll give you guys a photographic synopsis. Sorry for those of you on audio, but you're going to have to just check in the 52nd minute of the podcast on YouTube. So I'm going to give you a photographic synopsis. Here is a picture of Sean Johnson after the first goal in the 32nd minute. Here is a picture of Sean Johnson after the second goal. No, after the second goal in the did I not save all my pictures? I didn't save all my pictures. I totally messed all of this up in the rushing of everything. Hold on. Let me see if I can be able to pull this up, because I totally messed everything up.
Well, why do you do that? Were you just looking to just have Sean Johnson's facial reactions all throughout?
Yeah, basically just show Sean Johnson's pure disappointment. So this was headshots, and then here we have after the third goal. Look at that face. He doesn't want to be there. Then after the fourth goal, I mean, look at him. He is disheveled. At this point, after the third goal, he's screaming at his whole team.
I don't know why he left NYCFC. I mean, I guess I get it, right? Money and there's plenty of reasons, but I don't know, man. He's having a rough time, a rough go there in Toronto. Orlando looked good though. Araujo looked good. How do you pronounce his name? Atuesta, the kid that they just got from Brazil that used to play for LAFC. He's looking good. And Toronto was pressing high, and Orlando was beating them with the long ball. They had what's the kid's name? There was a kid that scored his first goal with them, Alex Freeman. Alex Freeman got his first goal with them on a counter on a long ball. Toronto, I'm not sure what they're gonna do because until they figure out this Insignia situation where they can actually use one of those DP spots for somebody that's gonna contribute, they're gonna have a tough time this season. And they still have one of the highest payrolls in the league, which is probably the saddest part.
I mean, guys, this is what you have to look forward to right here, Toronto. This disappointed face. He doesn't even want to be there. He's completely, Mr. Krabs is saying, regretting life choices. Absolutely. I mean, look at this. He's a guy that typically tries not to show too much on his face.
Yeah. All right. Down to 2 games. Red Bulls, Nashville. Nashville is just, they went from a really consistently good team to just bad.
Yeah.
Honey Mukhtar, since his MVP season, has not looked the same. I think Inter Miami broke them. I think Inter Miami might have broken them. I think that's what might have happened. It looked really bad. And the Red Bulls, Forsberg, he had what could possibly, I don't know if they've announced the goal of the week yet, but he has what could have been goal of the week.
Zinger.
Yeah, to the back post. Beautiful from the left side. Forsberg looks good. Chupa, I'm eventually going to remember his name. Chupa Moting, I want to say. He's not scared to shoot, even though I think he is overpriced and not the best. He will take shots when they present themselves. And Lewis Morgan didn't play, but they had a young gun come in and start for him. I want to say his name was Sofo. Sofo, it makes me think of SoFlo. Shout out to Matt if he watches this. But Sofo, first touch, first game, first goal, which was really cool. It came off of a rebound. And the Red Bulls win a pretty easy game. When Forsberg is the difference maker for the Red Bulls. If Forsberg can stay healthy the rest of the year, he will have the Red Bulls will have a pretty good season.
It was Mohamed Sofo who ended up getting that touch and that goal.
Chupa Moting, thank you.
Yeah, Chupa Moting. He got the goal off the rebound. And Forsberg, I wrote down in my notes, class goal, but no, this is a class action goal because he needs to, I mean, this was phenomenal. It was a chippy game from what I saw, and you would expect a chippy game with teams like this, right? The Red Bulls and Nashville, they're like defensive monsters. So it was a fun game to watch if you like that old school sort of brolicky pushing people around stuff.
And your favorite keeper, Joe Willis is his name? Joe Willis?
Yes,
Joe Willis?
The mustache.
Yes, the Red Bulls could have had much more than they did, but he showed up and stood tall. So he saved them quite a bit. And then Choupo-Moting, I thought he made Zimmerman didn't have a good game. I felt like he was creating chances on his own while Zimmerman was marking him. So, absolutely. And then finally, Philadelphia Union spanked Cincinnati. And now a lot of people are coming out and saying, oh, but Cincinnati has Champions Cup games. But they didn't rotate their roster.
No.
Evander played, Denke played, Yedlin played. All their big guns played. And they still got spanked 4-1 by the Philadelphia Union. I think it's safe to say the Philadelphia Union are the biggest surprise team. I came on here and I posted it on Twitter that I said that the Philadelphia Union would end up 4th or 5th in the East. I didn't think that they were going to come out guns blazing and start off with 8 goals to start the season in the first 2 weeks. And Baribo, he has more goals than I want to say it's like 23 of the MLS teams this year so far. Like he is killing it. 5 goals in 2 weeks. What did you think about the Philadelphia-Cincinnati game?
I mean, I guess we could clearly say at this very moment, Philadelphia doesn't miss Jim Curtin, right?
No.
I mean, they're doing perfectly fine without him. Everybody was in a panic because Jim Curtin is the comfort, right? Everybody kind of knew what he had to bring to the table. Gazdag, to me, is great in creating, and it was perfect the way that Gazdag was able to play. Shout out to Philadelphia Union. I love hearing the Dupe song after every goal, like I said. And Todd the God, I can't wait till he could be able to play these highlights because it's going to be phenomenal.
And everybody was saying that what's his face, Jack McGlynn, that went to Houston, that they were going to suffer because of this. They brought in Jovan Lukic, I want to say is how you pronounce his name, filling in just nice. Sullivan, Quinn and Sullivan. Everybody
Yeah,
like, oh,
Quinn
Kevin, because he's 14, 15 years old. His older brother is looking nice. He was creating consistently in this game. Philadelphia in the midfield looks just fine. Baribo on the end of those Gazdag passes is looking just fine. I'm sorry, but Philadelphia is looking like they are going to be a very good team this year because Gazdag to Baribo is going to be something that you hear quite a bit. And Quinn Sullivan, shout out to him because I'm sure he gets tired of hearing about his brother being the 14-year-old phenomenon when he is balling right now.
And look, Mike V is saying here the only person that misses Jim Curtin is Jim Curtin. That might be factual. And then Methuz is saying MVP Evander can't create blank. Okay, here's the deal. That goal that they scored is only because he created blank. But now we're back at the same.
Nice goal.
Is it too early to say we're back at the same place where Cincinnati cannot live without their 10?
Well, I mean, he played, though. Evander played.
No, I know, but like, remember, Lucho would play, and Cincinnati's like, okay, everything's okay in this world. But when he doesn't play, things were in a panic mode. Now, luckily, Evander's been playing, but like, if he doesn't play, if he misses a couple games, well, I wonder if that's going to be a big concern for Cincinnati.
And then Bailey, obviously, our go-to Portland person in the chat, shout out to Bailey, appreciate you, saying that he watched Evander in Portland. He's talented, but doesn't give 100%. Now, a lot of people might say this because he was unhappy about the whole contract situation.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that has anything to do with it. I think Cincinnati is a very skilled team. And the rhetoric has been, oh, but they're tired legs. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's early in the season. I don't want to say that this is a horrible loss, but I do think that Philadelphia has shown a lot. Kai Wagner, the way that first goal, I believe, was an assist from him, low cross to Baribo. Gazdag with a horrible clearance from, I forgot who it was. It was a defender or the keeper for Cincinnati, gave it away to Gazdag. Another easy goal for Baribo. Philadelphia's just looking good. Philadelphia's looking like a solid squad.
Look, I can't wait to see some of these teams a little bit more consistently, so that way we can have some like real good raw data to work with, because it's been such a small sample size so far, but it's going to be a good season. This season's starting to already pick up steam. Can't wait to see where we're going to be a couple of weeks from now. So
just real quick, I'm going to throw this up here. These were the match day 2-11. So you had Ryan White. You had Baribo, Suarez, Zaha. Is that Forsberg, Araujo, Segovia,
Hollinghead,
the defender that scored. It's too small for me to see who's that from Minnesota. Farsi, and then your boy Brady that needs the statue. Who was that from Minnesota? I don't want to go without saying his name.
I'm telling you, well, while you pick that up, I mean, Brady made this team. Literally, there needs to be a star, and we need to get
Voxel is from Minnesota.
There needs to be a statue in front of Soldier Field with Brady on it.
Anybody that maybe stood out to you that you thought maybe should have been here?
I mean, I would have liked to see a Philly. I mean, Baribo's there, but so many Philly players played so well. I think it would have been nice to add an extra one.
I think Quinn Sullivan should have been there.
Yeah,
he might be in the reserves though, because they do have a reserve down the right side. It's not the same, right? When you don't get
they do have Quinn Sullivan in the have Quinn Sullivan in the reserve. Yes.
Okay. Well, because that's the one name I think I would have liked to see there, because I thought he was the unsung hero.
What kind of job? What kind of job do you think Brady would have if he wasn't playing soccer? I think he would own like a rock and roll store.
Really? No. I see him as in a wife beater, blue Dickies, black boots, dirty white wife beater, backwards hat, and he's like, I don't know, doing something in an auto shop.
Ooh,
no, you don't see that?
Good. Yeah, I'd see it. I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, but it has to be a dirty white wife beater.
Yeah, of course, because he's been working all day.
Absolutely. And then Mr. Crowder said I described myself.
Oh my goodness.
Fair. All right. And then player of the week was around. It was Ty Baribo. Anybody else that you would give that to?
Luis Suarez.
Really? Okay.
Luis Suarez. And that's fandom aside. It was 4, but then they took away an assist. I mean, look, that kind of contribution, it's hard to find in this league. So,
but Baribo had 3 goals.
I know, but I'm just saying, you're asking me if I would have given it to anybody else. That's the other person I would have given it to.
Okay. Baribo, the things he beat Cincinnati, right? Well, not him, the team, right? But I think that was the upset of the week because I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. When I was talking about the game last week in the preview, I said they could draw, maybe win, right? I wasn't expecting a 4-1 victory. I thought they could maybe win, but I would expect like a close game, right? A 2-1, 3-2. 4-1 was not in the realm of possibility in my eyes, especially since Cincinnati didn't rotate their roster. So I thought that was the biggest surprise. I think that's probably what was heaviest in the decision making as to why he won Player of the Week. But I'm also okay with him getting it. Luis Suarez, I don't know. Given Luis's age and knees, it's impressive what he does. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
All right. And any final thoughts on match day 2?
No, man, it was a phenomenal weekend, phenomenal match day 2. It was good to go over all of it. I can't wait for match day 3. We have a standalone game with Columbus and Houston, 2:30 on Saturday. Another standalone with Seattle Sounders against LAFC at 4:45. We have another standalone game. What is it? On Saturday 9:30. No, I'm sorry, Saturday 10:30, San Jose, Minnesota, and then Sunday we have Inter Miami plays Charlotte at 4:00, and then LA Galaxy against St. Louis at 7:00. So plan your stuff.
I'm sorry, say that again.
LA Galaxy against the LA Galaxy versus St. Louis.
Oh, I got a second what Will from MLS Move said. Then that game needs to get flexed. Nobody wants to watch injury riddled LA Galaxy play against a boring ass St. Louis on Sunday night. That sucks.
Yeah, that's brutal. But plan your calendars accordingly, my friends.
Yeah. All right. Those are the final thoughts, and that's it. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. If you're on audio, thank you for listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all that other good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. It's another MLS podcast out and about. And as always, you guys in the chat, you guys are the best part of the show. We appreciate you hanging out with us for the last hour and 8 minutes. And we're going to work on cutting these down because we said we wanted to do it in 45 minutes, and we were at an hour and 10. So we're going to figure this out. But we appreciate you hanging out with us until then, and we'll be back for a preview show at some point. So until the next one, have a good one.